It took me almost 3 years to understand that my family had not been accidentally driving me insane. They had been rehearsing. My mother, Miriam Merrick, knew exactly what to say at dinner to unsettle me, how long to pause before mentioning an old failure, and when to glance at my younger sister so they could laugh together as though I had missed a private joke. My sister, Elodie, knew when to cry, when to slap the table, when to call me selfish, and when to storm out so that my father would appear in the doorway at the precise moment I lost my temper. My father, Victor, rarely joined the beginning of an argument. He only seemed to arrive at the end, after my voice had risen. My hands were shaking, and every trace of what happened before had disappeared. And my husband, Jonah Reed, was always the one who held me afterward. "They are pulling you into it," he often whispered as he stroked my hair in the dark. "Do not let them turn you into the villain." I used to believe Jonah was the only person who saw the truth. Later, I learned that he was the person writing the script. Everything began small enough that I blamed myself one Sunday evening. My mother placed salmon in front of me, even though she knew I had a mild allergy to the sauce she used. When I questioned it, she laughed and said, "I thought you had outgrown the habit of making everything dramatic." Elodie giggled. I said I was not being dramatic. I simply did not want to break out in a rash before an important meeting the next morning. My mother sighed. "See, Victor, even when I cook all afternoon, Kaya still finds a way to turn it into an injustice against her." My father entered from the living room at that exact moment. He did not ask what had happened. He only looked at me. Then at my mother. "Can you speak more gently?" he asked. I had not raised my voice. 5 minutes later, that was always the structure. They touched the wound. I reacted, and the room remembered only the reaction. I was 30 then, working as a content editor for an online education company. My job revolved around language, context, intention, and the way a sentence removed from a paragraph could be made to mean the opposite of what the speaker intended. I should have recognized the pattern earlier, but professional skill offers little protection when your own family is editing reality. You do not expect the mother who taught you to read to use words as traps. You do not expect your father to wait silently in the shadows for the most useful part of the story. Elodie was 5 years younger than me, since childhood. She had been called sensitive, while I was called strong. When she dropped out of college after one semester, the family said she needed time. When I took 6 months off after severe burnout, my mother said I lacked discipline. When Elodie borrowed money and failed to repay it, that was family helping family. When I asked how she planned to pay it back, I was accused of keeping score. I had supported Elodie in more ways than I ever named. I paid her rent twice after she lost jobs. I covered her car insurance after the policy was canceled. I recommended her for a position at a friend's company, then had to apologize when she quit without notice. My mother always said Elodie simply had not found the right place. I did not know the right place was a storytelling channel that used me as its villain. Jonah entered my life when the strange family incidents had already been happening for about 6 months. We met at a conference on digital content production. He worked as a video strategy consultant, spoke quietly, and had the rare ability to make the person across from him feel as though they had just said the smartest thing in the room. After my presentation on emotional manipulation through editing, he approached me. "You said viewers usually trust editing rhythm more than the person on screen." He said, "That is frighteningly true." I smiled. 3 seconds of silence can make someone look guilty or wounded, depending on the shot placed before it. Do you believe a camera tells the truth? I believe a camera records. The editor tells the story. He looked at me longer than politeness required. I would like to hear more about that. We had coffee, then dinner. 6 months later, Jonah moved into my apartment. 14 months after that, we married. My family loved him almost immediately. My mother said Jonah softened me. My father liked that he did not argue when older people spoke. Elodie called him the perfect brother-in-law and often messaged him privately for advice about work, money, and relationships. I saw it as a good sign. I had worried that anyone entering my family would feel excluded. Jonah was not merely accepted, he blended into them too quickly. There was one thing I sometimes found odd. Jonah knew small facts about me before I told him. On our third date, he named the dessert my mother had forced me to eat as a child. He said I must have mentioned it at the conference. I did not remember doing so. Another time. He knew I hated the sound of a spoon striking the side of a cup, a sensitivity only my family knew. He laughed and said he had noticed me wince at the cafe. I believed he was observant. He was, in fact, exceptionally observant. After we married, the family conflicts increased. My mother began inviting us to dinner more often. Elodie appeared at our apartment without warning, sometimes crying, sometimes drunk, sometimes asking for money. My father called Jonah privately to ask how to handle Kaya when she became difficult. Jonah always placed himself in the middle, calm and patient, then came home and told me he had defended me. "I told your mother she should not pressure you about children," he said one night. My mother had begun asking when we would have a baby, even though I had told her I was not sure I wanted children. She usually ended with, "Kaya is always too busy building a career to build a family." How did she respond, I asked. She cried, said she was only afraid you would regret it. "And what did you say?" I said it was our decision. I hugged him. Grateful. Later, when I saw the original recording, I discovered Jonah had not defended me the way he described. He sat at my mother's kitchen table, nodded while she called me selfish, and gently suggested, "Ask her while the kitchen camera is running. The reaction will be more natural." At the time, I did not know my mother's kitchen had a camera. I only began to feel that the incidents were becoming too perfectly shaped. One evening, Elodie called and said she was having a crisis at a bar. I arrived to find her sitting calmly with her former boyfriend. When I asked what was wrong, she accused me of arriving 40 minutes late, although the text message showed a different time. Her former boyfriend said I always treated my time as more important than everyone else's. I held out my phone to prove the message time. Elodie grabbed it, dropped it on the floor, and screamed that I was trying to control her. I bent to pick it up. When I stood, my father was at the entrance. He said he happened to be passing by. He lived 30 minutes away. "What are you doing to your sister?" he demanded. "Why are you here? Do not change the subject." Elodie began to cry. Her former boyfriend stepped back like an impartial witness. I looked around and noticed a phone propped on a liquor shelf, pointed directly at our table. I asked what it was recording. Elodie rushed toward it. "I was only making a video with a friend. During an argument, you always think everything is about you." My father moved between us. He put a hand on my shoulder, a gesture that would look reassuring from across the room. But his fingers tightened painfully. "Go home." "Kaya," I knocked his hand away. The phone on the shelf recorded that exact moment. 2 weeks later, my mother sent me a video from a popular family story channel called Glass Houses. Her message said, "People are terrible these days. A daughter treating her family this way is unforgivable." The video was titled, "Successful Daughter Humiliates Her Unemployed Sister in Front of an Entire Bar." Faces were blurred and voices altered. But the layout of the bar, Elodie's dress, my exact words, and the moment I pushed my father's hand away were identical. I watched it 3 times. The video ran 12 minutes. It opened with a warm female narrator saying, "Mara, the successful older sister, has always viewed her younger sister as a burden. My name had been changed to Mara and..." The text message times were reversed. The moment Elodie grabbed my phone was removed. My father, squeezing my shoulder, was gone. The audience saw only me raising my voice, holding the phone near my sister's face, and knocking away my father's hand. The comments called the woman based on me narcissistic, toxic, and abusive. One person wrote, "I hope her family cuts her off. I felt so cold that I had to stand and walk around the room." I called Jonah. He watched the video on his way home and said it might be a coincidence. When I emphasized how precisely the dialogue matched, he suggested someone in the bar could have filmed it and submitted the footage. Who knew the amount Elodie owed, I asked. Who knew I had paid her rent? Maybe she told her former boyfriend. What about the sentence Mom said to me last month? Jonah was silent for several seconds. Channels like this combine multiple stories. I want to ask Elodie, do not, if it was not her, you will create another conflict. You do not find this strange. I do. I just do not want you to rush in and let them use your reaction against you. It sounded perfectly reasonable. It also kept me silent long enough for them to continue. I began watching Glass Houses. The channel had more than 2 million subscribers, and each video received hundreds of thousands or millions of views. The stories always revolved around a family with a successful but cold eldest daughter, a fragile younger sister, a self-sacrificing mother, and a father trying to keep peace. Names changed and settings shifted slightly. But the more I watched, the more fragments of my life I recognized. Daughter refuses to pay her mother's medical bills came from the time my mother sent me an invoice for cosmetic dental work and called it health care. Older sister ruins younger sister's birthday by refusing to pay came from the time Elodie reserved an expensive restaurant for 20 people and sent me the bill. Controlling wife uses money to isolate her husband included a scene in which a woman became angry because her husband secretly transferred joint funds to her sister. 3 months earlier, Jonah had sent Elodie $5,000 without asking me. When I objected, he hugged me and said he only wanted to keep the peace. Every video was a reaction separated from its cause. I built a spreadsheet, the real date, the upload date, matching details, who had been present, and which device might have recorded it. After 47 videos, coincidence was no longer a possibility. I showed the spreadsheet to Jonah. He sat in front of the laptop for a long time. You think your family is making content about you? I know they are. What direct evidence do you have? Some sentences were known by only 4 people. Your phone could be compromised. Accounts could have been accessed. You are talking as though a stranger hacking me is more likely than Mom and Elodie sending material. I only do not want you accusing anyone before you are certain. I closed the laptop. Do you believe me? Jonah knelt beside my chair and held my hands. I believe you are frightened. I believe someone is taking your life. But I need you to be careful. I cried. He held me. Looking back, that was Jonah's most terrifying skill. He never denied the feeling. He validated the feeling so he could control the action. He told me I was right to hurt, then guided me away from the place where I might discover the truth. I did not confront my family. I began investigating. The company behind Glass Houses was Hearthline Media, LLC, registered through a privacy agent. Its contact address led to a generic mailbox. Videos used several synthetic narrators and revealed no producers. The channel earned money through advertising, memberships, a podcast, and adaptation rights. Based on public estimates, it might have generated more than $1 million a year. I examined what I could find of Elodie's finances. She had no stable job, yet she rented a new apartment, purchased a car, and traveled. When I had asked before, she said a boyfriend supported her and that she performed confidential consulting work. My mother renovated her kitchen. My father bought a small boat. They said they had used savings. I studied family photographs. Once I knew what to look for, strange objects appeared everywhere: a new smoke detector in the kitchen, an unusually thick picture frame, and a desk clock always turned toward the chair where I sat. In our own apartment, Jonah had installed a security system after we married, including a doorbell, sensors, and 2 indoor cameras he said activated only when we were away. I opened the security application. It showed only the living room camera and the entrance. The router, however, listed 7 connected recording devices. I asked Jonah about them. He said the system probably counted laptop cameras, old phones, and a baby monitor left by a previous tenant. He promised to inspect it over the weekend. That evening, the number of recording devices dropped from 7 to 3. I had taken screenshots before it changed. The next day, I bought a signal detector and told no one. The first device I found was hidden inside our wedding photograph in the living room. The detector vibrated strongly as I moved closer. I removed the backing and found a camera no larger than the end of my finger, with a cable running through the frame and into the outlet behind the cabinet. I sat on the floor for a long time, holding the wedding picture. in the photograph. Jonah looked at me as though nothing else existed. Behind that image, a lens had watched us argue, embrace, fall asleep on the sofa, and perhaps even change clothes as we crossed the room. I did not unplug it. My first instinct was to smash it. My second was to call the police. But if there was only one hidden camera in our home, Jonah could claim it belonged to the security system and he had forgotten to mention it. I needed to know the scale. I photographed the device, recorded its network address, and put everything back exactly as I found it. The second camera was inside the alarm clock in our bedroom. The third was built into a USB charger in the kitchen. A recording device had been fixed beneath the dining table. There was no camera in the bathroom, but I found a microphone behind the ventilation grill. I had to step onto the balcony to breathe. When had Jonah installed them? The clock had been a gift from him after our wedding. Elodie had commissioned the picture frame. My mother bought the charger because she said our apartment never had enough outlets. Every gift had been an access point. I called an old friend named Priya Soren, a cybersecurity specialist. I did not explain everything over the phone. I only asked whether she could inspect a household network discreetly. Priya arrived the next afternoon carrying a tool bag that looked like ordinary electrical equipment. I told Jonah she was helping me recover a damaged work drive. He was meeting a client and replied only, "Do not let her touch the house system. It is sensitive." Priya read the message and looked at me. "Does he know what you are doing? I have not told him anything." We examined the devices. They transmitted through a hidden network separate from the ordinary Wi-Fi. Data was uploaded on a schedule through a cloud relay under an unnamed administrator account. Priya refused to penetrate the remote server because that might violate the law and alert whoever controlled it. She did record the server address, transfer schedule, device configuration, and identification codes. "This is not a home security system," she said. "It is designed for continuous recording and scheduled uploads. Does it record sound? Yes. Several devices have voice detection. They may flag sections when the volume rises to find arguments." Priya did not answer. She did not have to. She discovered a cache directory on the control unit. The files followed a naming pattern: KM home kitchen, KM bedroom, MM dining, M apartment. KM meant Kaya Merrick. MM meant Miriam Merrick. EM meant Elodie Merrick. I was not being recorded in only one home. They had constructed an entire system. "You need a lawyer," Priya said. "Probably the police, too. But first, the evidence must be preserved correctly." I called Lena Ortiz, a lawyer who had previously advised my employer on privacy law. Lena met us at her office after business hours. She told me to begin at the beginning and omit nothing out of embarrassment. When I described glass houses, the spreadsheet, and the hidden cameras, she did not look skeptical. "In this state, recording private conversations without consent may be criminal," Lena said. "A camera in a bedroom makes the exposure much more serious. If they profited from the material, we may also have commercial appropriation, intrusion upon seclusion, fraud, and possibly copyright claims depending on the data." My husband could say I agreed to a security system. "Did you sign anything allowing continuous audio recording or commercial use?" "No. Any term in a home purchase agreement, insurance document, or application, I do not know. We will examine everything." Lena instructed me not to remove the devices, confront anyone, or post publicly. She hired a licensed technical investigator to create a legally defensible copy and said she could seek an emergency preservation order if we connected the recordings to the channel. "I need to know who is behind Hearthline Media," I said. "We will find out." I still went home and slept beside Jonah that night. There is nothing like lying next to someone you suspect has secretly filmed you for years. Every movement becomes a performance. I turned away and pretended to sleep while listening to him place his phone on the bedside table. I knew the camera inside the clock was watching us. Jonah rested his hand on my hip. "You have been distant for days," he said. "Work. Is it because of that channel I kept my breathing even? I am only tired. Do not let it consume you. Your family is worried. You told them I only said you were under stress." I looked into the darkness. He was updating them on my condition the way a producer updates a cast. Your mother wants to hold a reconciliation dinner this weekend, he said. We should go. She wants peace. I understood that a new scene was being prepared. All right, I said. Jonah paused for a fraction of a second, then kissed my shoulder. I knew you would do the right thing. I had never hated a gentle sentence so much. The reconciliation dinner took place on Saturday evening. Lena had obtained an emergency order requiring preservation of the devices in my home, but it had not yet been served on Jonah. Her technical investigator, Marcus Bell, had created a remote forensic mirror and was monitoring outgoing traffic without interfering. I wore a small recorder Lena provided. State law allowed a participant to record her own conversation, but Lena warned me not to provoke anyone or search another person's private equipment. You only have to exist, she said. They will perform the rest themselves. I arrived at my mother's house with Jonah. He drove, keeping one hand on my knee like a concerned husband. Before we entered, he said, do not become defensive tonight. Listen, what did you tell them that you feel attacked? I do not feel attacked. I am being attacked. Jonah gave me a sad smile. That is exactly the kind of language that makes it difficult for people to reach you. I looked at his hand on my leg. I wanted to push it away. Instead, I placed my own hand over it as though agreeing. In my mother's kitchen, the new smoke detector blinked with a tiny green light. The picture frame on the shelf was pointed toward my usual chair. My mother had cooked Elodie's favorite stew rather than mine. My father opened wine. Elodie arrived 10 minutes late, her eyes red as though she had been crying. We sat down. My mother began with an apology. I am sorry if I sometimes made you feel unloved, she said, but you need to understand that the way you treat this family frightens us. What have I done? Jonah squeezed my hand beneath the table. My mother glanced at him before answering. You monitor Elodie's finances. You question every gift. You suspect your own family of recording you. You say your parents are exploiting you. I had never said that final sentence to her. Did Jonah tell you? He answered first. I only told them you were hurting. Elodie burst into tears. You hired someone to investigate me. Did you not? I stared at her. Who told you that I know you built a spreadsheet about my life? Jonah turned toward me with an expression of perfectly measured surprise. You have been tracking Elodie, I understood. He had either seen the spreadsheet or accessed my computer. They were turning my effort to document the videos into proof of obsession. I recorded the glass house's videos that matched real family events, I said calmly. My father set down his glass. That channel again, 47 videos contain matching details. My mother looked toward Jonah as though seeking help. Do you see she is becoming consumed by it? Kaya, Jonah said softly. Maybe we should find someone to help you. What kind of help? A professional. You think I am delusional. I think you are frightened and need support. Elodie stood. You always do this. You collect evidence about everyone so you can prove you are right. I have never monitored you. You inspect my spending because you borrow from me. My mother cut in. Money, money, money. You always place money before love. I kept my voice low. Why does everyone want me to become angry? The room went silent. That was not a question they had prepared for. Elodie glanced quickly toward the smoke detector. Jonah placed his hand over mine. No one wants you angry, he said. Then why does Dad wait outside the room until Mom insults me? Why is a phone always pointed toward my seat? Why does a story identical to our argument appear on the channel every time I visit? My father stood. Are you accusing your parents? I am asking questions. No, my mother said, her voice trembling. You are humiliating us in our own home. She reached for a tissue and deliberately knocked an envelope to the floor. Elodie bent to retrieve it and allowed several sheets to slide out. The first page was a quotation for heart surgery in the name of Miriam Merrick. I knew my mother did not have heart disease. 2 weeks earlier, she had posted photographs from a tennis lesson. Elodie looked at the page, then at me. Mom did not want to tell you because she was afraid you would think she wanted money. My mother lowered her head. My father said, Insurance will not cover all of it. Jonah turned toward me. Can we help? The scene had been arranged like a chessboard: the sick mother, the crying sister, the helpless father, the pleading husband, and the wealthy daughter forced to choose in front of cameras. I picked up the quotation. The clinic's name resembled a real hospital, but one letter in the address was wrong. The appointment date was the same day my mother had posted photographs from the beach. "I want to speak with the doctor," I said. "You do not believe your own mother. I want to understand the condition." "See," Elodie shouted. "Mom could die and you still want to audit the paperwork." She slapped the table, knocking wine onto her shirt, then rose too quickly and tried to move around me. Her chair caught her foot, and she fell beside my seat. She screamed. My father rushed into the camera frame, even though he had been sitting at the far end of the table. My mother shouted that I had pushed her. Jonah jumped up and placed himself between us. I had not touched Elodie. But the angle from the picture frame would show me standing, Elodie falling, and everyone rushing toward us. I raised both hands and spoke clearly. I did not touch her. Elodie clutched her wrist. "You pulled me." "No, I saw it." My mother said. "So did I," my father added. Jonah looked at me with carefully arranged pain. "Kaya, perhaps you did not realize." I turned toward him. "You were standing beside me." He said nothing. I understood that this was the moment they wanted, the moment I realized even my husband would testify against me. They were waiting for a scream, a slammed table, perhaps a slap. I simply picked up my bag. "I am leaving." Elodie should see a doctor if she is injured. Preserve every original recording from tonight. Jonah's expression changed for less than a second. "What recording?" my mother asked. "All of them." I walked out. Jonah followed me to the car. He closed the front door behind him and lowered his voice. "What did you just do?" "Left an unsafe situation. You made them believe you were guilty. I do not have to persuade people who prepared their statements in advance. Kaya, you are losing control. I am completely in control." He looked at me as though he no longer recognized the character he had been producing. "Give me the keys. I will drive. I am driving myself. You should not be alone." "Stay and care for Elodie." I entered the car. Jonah stood in the road, phone in his hand. Through the mirror, I saw that he did not call me. He returned to the house. Marcus confirmed that the footage was uploaded immediately after dinner. The system automatically flagged the section where voices rose, and the moment Elodie fell, it had also preserved the entire 2 hours before my arrival, including their preparation. 3 days later, preservation orders were served on Jonah, my parents, and Elodie. They were forbidden from deleting, altering, or moving cameras, files, accounts, or data connected to glass houses. At the same time, Lena sent emergency demands to the video platform, payment processors, and cloud provider. Jonah was at his office when he received the order. He called me 17 times. I did not answer. I had moved out on Sunday morning while he was at my parents' house. Priya and a professional moving service collected my computers, documents, clothes, and valuables. I left every camera in place. I rented an apartment with a controlled access, and only Lena and Priya knew the address. Jonah's messages changed by the hour. "You are overreacting. Lawyers are unnecessary. I am a victim too if your family recorded our home. Call me before the police turn a misunderstanding into a criminal case. I love you. Kaya, I know you are reading this. Do not destroy our life because of a channel." That final message did not say family. It said channel. Lena told me not to respond. Hearthline Media answered the legal demand through a major law firm. The company claimed glass houses used stories voluntarily submitted by anonymous contributors, that identifying details were altered, and that the content was transformative. It refused to identify the owner without a subpoena. Lena filed an initial civil complaint for intrusion upon seclusion and sought expedited discovery. Police also opened an investigation after Marcus submitted his forensic report on the bedroom camera and bathroom microphone. Investigators prepared search warrants, but they wanted to identify the server controller before acting. Under court order, The video platform produced administrator emails, login history, and payment data. The principal account used the alias G.H. Narrative. 2 locations appeared repeatedly: my parents' house and a rented office downtown. The most important administrative device was a laptop whose hardware identifier matched a device Jonah had registered on our home network. I read the report and still tried to invent explanations. Maybe he logged in because he was investigating for me. I said, Priya looked at me, before you knew the channel existed. The device history began 3.5 years earlier, 6 months before Jonah met me. My heartbeat slowed as if my body refused to understand. Hearthline Media, LLC had been registered through a nominee service, but revenue flowed into a business trust called Reed Narrative Trust. Jonah Elias, Reed was the sole trustee and beneficiary. My husband controlled glass houses, not my mother, not Elodie. They were performers, scene suppliers, and paid collaborators. Jonah owned the channel, chose the stories, edited the material, wrote the narration, managed advertising, and decided how I would appear. I sat in Lena's conference room staring at his name on the documents. He met me after the channel began. I said, Lena nodded. The records show it had been operating for about 6 months before the conference. So our meeting, Priya spoke softly, may not have been accidental. Police obtained a search warrant for Jonah's rented office. They found editing stations, backup servers, advertising contracts, story lists, and a database tracking characters. My code was K-Main. My mother was M-Mother. Elodie was E-Sister. My father was V-Father. Jonah was listed as J-Husband, but his role was not character. It was producer access. A first-year strategy folder contained a document titled Expand Private Access. The first line read, approaching K through a romantic relationship will provide material outside the Merrick household, increase narrative continuity, and open the marriage storyline. The document had been created 3 weeks before Jonah approached me at the conference. It analyzed my work schedule, interests, social media accounts, and events I planned to attend. Elodie provided the information. My mother supplied childhood stories. Jonah chose the conference because he knew the subject of my presentation. He did not happen to fall in love with the woman speaking about manipulation through editing. He had researched me like a product. Another folder contained an audio recording of our first date. Jonah had kept his phone in his jacket pocket with the microphone active. I heard a younger version of my voice laughing while he asked about my job. After the date, he called Elodie. She likes me, Jonah said. Elodie laughed. I told you. My sister likes men who make her feel intelligent. Do not move too quickly. The audience has to believe the relationship. When does my percentage increase? When the marriage content begins. I stopped the recording. I did not cry immediately. I stared through the conference room window at pedestrians crossing the street, a bus stopping, and a woman walking a dog. The world continued operating while the entire history of my love had just been reformatted into a strategy file. Lena asked whether I needed a break. How many recordings are there from the bedroom, I asked. She became silent. How many? Marcus found hundreds of hours. Most were never published. There is a potential material folder. I need to know what they released. Not now. I need to know. A members-only video was titled Cold Wife Withholds Intimacy, then Blames Husband for Growing Distant. The image was cropped so that my body was not exposed, but it showed my bedroom, my voice, and the night I said I did not want sex because I was in pain after a medical procedure. Jonah removed my explanation and kept the part where he turned away. The narration said I used sex as a method of control. Another video used footage of me crying after a colleague was laid off, then paired it with a call in which my mother asked for money. It became a story about a daughter who cared for strangers but had no compassion for family. They had not recorded only the moments when I lost control. They had recorded the moments I believed were most private. I ran to the bathroom and vomited. This time, Jonah was not there to hold me afterward. For the first time, that absence was safety. News of the search did not appear immediately. Police sealed the devices, but Jonah was not arrested because prosecutors had to classify thousands of hours of recordings, determine which laws applied in each location, and prove that everyone knew I had not consented. His lawyer issued a statement saying Jonah was innocent, that the equipment belonged to a family documentary project involving implied participation, and that I had known our home contained security cameras. I had never known about the camera inside the bedroom clock. But legal truth moved more slowly than online truth. Glass houses stopped posting for 5 days. Then the channel uploaded a video with a black screen and the familiar narrator for 3 years. We have told the story of a family trying to love a woman who has become increasingly detached from reality. Recently, that woman discovered that she inspired some of our content and decided to destroy everyone who had ever tried to help her. For legal reasons, we cannot yet disclose the complete truth, but we will not remain silent in the face of bullying. The video never named me. It did not need to. Comments divided into 2 camps. Some viewers realized that the earlier videos might have been based on a real person and demanded an explanation for the hidden recordings. Loyal followers said the cruel daughter had finally revealed herself. They searched public family photographs and identified me. Elodie and Jonah. My name began appearing on forums. My mother posted a wedding photograph of the entire family with the caption, "Some people receive unconditional love and still choose to make themselves victims." Elodie posted a photograph of her bandaged wrist from the staged dinner. My father posted nothing. He called an uncle, knowing the conversation would reach me, and said I had allowed lawyers to manipulate me because I wanted Elodie's channel income. Jonah sent a long email. He said the channel had begun as Elodie's idea. She sent him a few recordings of conflicts with her narcissistic older sister and asked how to make money from them. Jonah saw potential, produced a test video, and watched it go viral. My parents agreed to film more because the money helped Elodie pay her debts. He wrote that his original purpose in meeting me had been to understand the character, not to marry me, but he claimed he truly fell in love. According to him, the marriage had not been entirely false. The cameras continued because the channel became the family's source of income, and he feared that stopping would cause everyone to lose everything. I lived inside 2 truths. He wrote, "One was the work, one was the love. I know you will not believe me, but I never saw you as only content." I read that sentence and opened the recovered file list. K-main breakdown 07, K-main marriage decline, K-main infertility angle, K-main paranoia arc. The man who claimed he had never seen me as only content had divided my suffering into story arcs. I did not reply. Lena demanded that glass houses remove every video containing my image, voice, or private details. The platform suspended monetization and limited distribution. But it did not immediately delete everything because the channel's lawyers argued the material was transformed and concerned matters of public interest. The fight could last for years. The frozen revenue created fractures inside the family. Elodie called from an unknown number. "You have to release the money," she said immediately. "What money?" "The channel accounts. The lawyer says you requested the freeze. I requested preservation. My rent is due. You can work." She laughed in disbelief. "You really want me to lose my apartment? You rented it with money made from secretly recording me. I did not run the channel. You accepted the payments and created the conflicts." Jonah said the material was anonymous. He said no one would know. "You knew I had not agreed. You would never agree to anything that helped me. I paid your rent before the channel existed. And you always made me feel indebted because you owed me money." Elodie began crying. "Mom is right. You like watching people beg. I will not pay your rent by selling my privacy." I ended the call. My mother sent a letter through counsel. She claimed she had agreed to participate in a project reenacting family conflict and did not know Jonah installed cameras in the bedroom. She admitted deliberately asking provocative questions and restaging certain incidents, but insisted the purpose was to help Kaya see how her behavior affected others. My father said he appeared only when my mother called and did not understand how the footage would be edited. Yet the messages on his phone contained Jonah's instructions. Enter after Kay raises her voice. Do not ask what happened before the camera starts. Keep your hand on her shoulder longer so she pushes it away. Your final line should be, you are not the daughter I knew. My father had followed every instruction. The hardest discovery was not that they had been paid, it was that they had trained my emotions like laboratory responses. My mother knew that asking why I had not had children would hurt. Elodie knew comparing me to my father's second wife would make me furious. My father knew that quiet disappointment frightened me more than shouting. They did not invent the wounds. They used the map that intimacy had given them. I began therapy with a psychologist named Camille Arden. During the first session, I recited the story in the language of an editor timeline, evidence, structure, motive. Camille listened and then asked what I had felt when I found the camera behind the wedding photograph. Observed. And when you learned Jonah chose the conference deliberately deceived, those are descriptions. What did you feel? I could not answer. I had lived in someone else's narrative for so long that even my emotions seemed to require evidence before I allowed myself to have them, Camille said. You do not need to be a reliable witness in this room. I cried through most of the session. Police began interviewing everyone. Elodie invoked her right to remain silent. My mother supplied passwords and tried to place responsibility on Jonah. My father partially cooperated. Jonah answered no questions. But his lawyer proposed a settlement. Jonah would pay me a large sum, remove the most private videos, issue a general apology, and shut down the channel if I did not advocate for serious prosecution. I do not control the prosecutor. I told Lena, he knows that. He wants you to say you do not want charges, that I want the law applied. Then we refuse. 1 week later, Glass Houses announced its largest project ever. Live reconciliation of family confronts the daughter who destroyed everything. The thumbnail showed the silhouette of one woman facing 4 people. The description promised that the family would speak live, without editing and without scripts, before millions of viewers. It said the woman had been invited and that if she refused, the empty chair would speak for her. I had not yet received a formal invitation. Jonah sent it through his lawyer the next morning. The offer stated that the live stream would occur in an independent studio with a neutral host. I could bring counsel and preview every video clip. The channel would donate part of the revenue to a mental health charity. Jonah described it as a way to lower public tension and give Kaya the chance to speak in her own voice. Lena said. Do not go, Priya said. It is a trap, Camille asked. Do you want to attend because you want to be understood or because you believe you can control the outcome? I did not answer immediately. I had spent my life trying to make my family understand me. Every explanation became new material. If I joined the live stream only to defend myself, I would once again be standing inside a frame they selected, but the proposal contained one important element, an independent production studio, and a commitment to unedited live transmission. The company, Beacon Live, did not belong to Hearthline. It had a good reputation, and its contract required agreement from all participating sides before the broadcast signal could be altered. Jonah had selected Beacon to create the appearance of neutrality, but that choice also created a door he did not completely control. I want to see the technical contract, I said. Lena looked at me. What are you considering? Jonah will bring edited clips to prove I am cruel. Police possess the unedited footage and have made forensic copies. If Beacon plays the originals instead of only his edits, the audience will see how the scenes were manufactured. Priya sat straighter. You want to replace the video source, not secretly. I want a contractual right to answer allegations with evidence. Beacon must maintain an independent server supplied by the forensic team. Jonah will never agree if he knows the contents, Lena said. He does not need to approve each clip. He needs to agree that both sides may present unedited source material in rebuttal. Lena reread the proposal in silence. That may be possible, she said, but it must be clean. We cannot show unrelated intimate material, violate a sealing order, or damage the criminal case. The prosecutor must authorize every public clip. I called Evelyn. She objected initially. After reviewing the contract, she said prosecutors might approve verified clips that revealed no protected investigative method, especially where parts of the evidence had already entered the public court record. The staged dinner, bar incident, and first date planning files did not contain sexual material. You understand they will accuse you of manipulating the program, Evelyn asked. They accuse me while I remain silent, and if they cancel the live stream, the empty chair will speak for me, according to their own announcement. Evelyn did not smile. Do not turn this into revenge. I want viewers to see the part before I become angry. After 4 days of negotiation, the contract was signed. Each side received 30 minutes for presentation. Every video had to be delivered to Beacon 12 hours before the broadcast and stored on a separate server. No participant could independently cut the signal. The host could pause the program if anyone made threats or disclosed legally protected information. I had the right to present rebuttal footage immediately after an accusation without providing the opposing side advance access, provided the clip had passed legal review. Jonah agreed. Perhaps he believed I possessed only photographs of hidden cameras and a spreadsheet. He did not know investigators had recovered the preparations before each scene. He did not know the microphone captured my mother asking which direction Elodie should fall. He did not know the hallway camera recorded him adjusting the angle and kissing my sister before coming into the bedroom to comfort me. He did not know the editing workstation automatically preserved versions before and after every cut, allowing the original and published videos to be placed side by side through his own work. Jonah had taught me that the editor tells the story. He had forgotten that I was an editor too. On the day of the live stream, I arrived at Beacon Live at 4 in the afternoon. The program was scheduled to begin at 8. The studio occupied an old brick building with 2 control rooms, 3 exits, and its own security team. Lena came with me. Beacon hired Priya as a technical advisor for the forensic media source. Evelyn was not inside the studio, but 2 investigators waited in a vehicle outside because Jonah, my parents, and Elodie were all subjects of an active investigation and preservation orders remained in force. I wore a simple black suit, not to look powerful. I did not want my clothes to become part of the story. Jonah arrived at 5 with his lawyer and a media consultant. He had lost weight and had not shaved carefully. But when he saw me, his face immediately arranged itself into the wounded expression viewers had loved. Kaya. I did not answer. My mother arrived next, holding my father's arm. She wore pale blue, the color she often used in videos when she wanted to appear gentle. Elodie wore an oversized sweater, no makeup, and the same bandage around her wrist even though more than a month had passed. As she walked by, she whispered, "You still have time to stop this." "I do not control the program," I said. "We signed a contract." She looked toward Jonah. It was a reflex I had never noticed before. They all looked to him when a decision had to be made. The host was Celeste Warren, a former television journalist with a reputation for seriousness. She met each side separately and repeated the rules: no insults, no threats, and no discussion of sealed evidence beyond material cleared by counsel. Anyone could leave, but the signal would continue if the remaining participants agreed. "Do you know more than 1 million people have activated reminders?" Celeste asked me. "I know. Are you afraid?" "Yes. Then why did you come?" "For 3 years. Viewers saw only the moment after I was pushed. Tonight they will see the hand." Celeste studied me, then nodded. Before the broadcast, Jonah requested access to the control room. Beacon allowed lawyers from both sides to observe through glass, but no participant could touch the system. The family's files were stored in a red folder. Mine were in an encrypted blue folder that only Priya and the technical director could unlock. Jonah saw the file names: Response 1, Response 2, Response 3. "What did she submit?" he asked. The director answered, "Legally approved rebuttal material. We have a right to preview it. The contract says otherwise." Jonah turned to his attorney. They argued quietly. "Finally," he said. "Fine. She has nothing except photographs of a few cameras. I heard him through Lena's earpiece. At 8, the red light came on. The live audience rose from 300,000 to 800,000 in the first 2 minutes. Celeste introduced the program as a discussion about a family, a storytelling channel, and allegations that conflict had been deliberately manufactured. She did not call me the cruel daughter. She used everyone's full name. Jonah spoke first. He said Glass Houses began as an anonymous storytelling project based on real experiences submitted by multiple families. Elodie sent several stories about conflict with me. One video went viral. My parents agreed to recreate scenes because they believed identifying details would be changed. Jonah admitted that he later used actual footage, but emphasized that faces and voices were disguised. I was wrong not to obtain Kaya's explicit consent, he said while looking directly into the camera. But I did not create the behavior shown in those videos. Kaya really said and did those things. Celeste asked whether he had approached me because of the channel. Jonah looked at me, then answered. At first, I wanted to understand the story, but love cannot be scheduled. Our marriage was real. The room seemed to tilt, but I kept my hands folded in my lap. My mother said she participated because she was afraid Elodie could not pay her debts. She described raising 2 daughters through hardship and said I became successful while Elodie struggled with confidence. She admitted asking difficult questions but said every family argued. Kaya has always had a strong temper. My mother said, we could not manufacture something that was not there. My father said he had only tried to keep peace. He admitted being called to several incidents but claimed he did not know Jonah wanted to capture my reaction. Elodie cried during her turn. I did not think anyone would discover our identities, she said. I only wanted a way to survive. Kaya always made me feel like a failure. The channel was the first thing I ever did well. Celeste asked whether doing well included deliberately provoking arguments. Sometimes Jonah suggested I bring up an old problem again. Elodie said, but her reaction was still her reaction. Then they played their first video package. The title on the screen was Kaya Shoves Her Desperate Sister. It showed the final dinner. The edit began when Elodie screamed that our mother might die. I stood. The camera cut to Elodie falling and clutching her wrist. My father rushed forward. Jonah placed himself between us. My mother shouted that I had pushed Elodie. I said coldly, I am leaving. There was no false medical quotation, no preparation, no space visible between my body and Elodie. The package ended with Jonah saying, this is the woman we tried to love. Celeste turned toward me. Kaya, would you like to respond? I would like to play the original recording from 3 cameras, beginning 40 minutes before dinner. Priya opened response 1. The screen divided into 3 angles: kitchen, dining room, and hallway. The continuous timestamps remained visible. The audience watched my mother place the envelope on the table and ask Jonah, does the heart surgery paper look real enough? Jonah examined it and said the logo was slightly blurred, but no one would notice in the final video. Elodie practiced standing, catching her foot on the chair and falling to the left. My father asked when he should enter. After Kaya stands, Jonah replied, Victor, keep your hand on her shoulder. If she knocks it away, we gain another physical aggression moment. My mother asked what they should do if I did not become angry. Elodie raises her voice. Jonah said, mention that Kaya does not want children and cannot understand the fear of losing a mother. Inside the studio, my mother covered her mouth. The footage continued without a cut. Viewers saw me arrive, heard the entire conversation, and watched Elodie trip over her own chair while I remained almost a meter away. The hallway angle showed Jonah looking at the camera before saying that perhaps I had not realized I pushed her. When the clip ended, the live audience had passed 2 million. Comments moved too quickly to read, Jonah said. That was a reenactment for the channel. Kaya knew the house had cameras. I did not. I said, you had seen the security system. A security system is not a camera inside a picture frame or a microphone inside an air vent. Jonah's lawyer objected to discussion of evidence not yet tried. Celeste noted that the existence of the devices had been confirmed in public court filings. My mother began crying. Jonah directed us. We only followed him. I looked at her. You knew the medical document was false. I did not think you would be harmed. What did you think the purpose was? To get a reaction? Is a painful reaction not harm? She could not answer. Jonah tried to recover control. This is one incident, he said. Kaya selected the worst example, across hundreds of hours. She was genuinely cruel many times. He signaled for the second package. It was the bar video. The edit showed me arriving late, interrogating Elodie, holding my phone near her face, and knocking away my father's hand. The narration called me a controlling and abusive sister. When Celeste asked for my response, I played response to 2. The original began with Jonah sitting in a car outside the bar and calling my father, "Wait near the back entrance." When Elodie sends a period, "Come in." Another camera showed Elodie altering the time inside a screenshot before I arrived. Her former boyfriend received $200 through a payment application to say I was late. The recording phone was placed on the shelf under Jonah's instructions. Viewers saw Elodie grab my phone, watched my father tighten his fingers on my shoulder until I winced, and then saw me push his hand away. The published video lasts 12 minutes, I said. The original lasts 1 hour and 7 minutes. The 12-minute version does not lie by using invented images. It lies through what it removes. Celeste turned to Jonah. Did you pay the former boyfriend? That was a production expense. You called this a true story. It was a reenactment based on real conflict. Why did Kaya not know she was participating in a reenactment? Jonah had no answer. The audience climbed to 3.4 million. Elodie began bouncing one leg. She looked at the flood of comments and said, "I want to stop." Her lawyer reminded her she could leave. Elodie stood. But my mother caught her wrist. "If you walk out, you will look guilty," she whispered. The table microphone captured every word. The sentence went out live. Elodie sat down again. Jonah asked to move to the marriage segment. He played footage from our living room in which I said I did not want him transferring more money to Elodie. The edited narration said, Kaya used finances to isolate her husband from family. Jonah faced the main camera. I do not deny that I made mistakes with the recording, but the marriage became controlling. I used the channel to create enough financial independence to leave if I needed to. I looked at him. The channel existed before you met me, and I fell in love with you. Play response 3. The screen displayed expand private access, with a creation date before the conference. Highlighted lines read, approach K through a romantic relationship, open a marriage storyline, increase access outside the Merrick home. Then the studio heard the call after our first date. Jonah's voice said, "She likes me." Elodie laughed. "I told you, my sister likes men who make her feel intelligent." Do not move too quickly. The audience has to believe the relationship. When does my percentage increase? When the marriage content begins. Elodie covered her face. Jonah jumped from his chair. That file was obtained illegally, from outside the camera frame, Lena said. The file was seized under warrant and the prosecutor authorized the use of the portion entered into the public record. This is humiliation, Jonah said. You broadcast our first date to your production team before I knew I was a character. I replied, I loved you afterward. Perhaps you still kept recording. Because if I stopped, everything collapsed. What collapsed was your income, not your love. Jonah looked toward the control room and removed his microphone. He left the chair and walked toward the wings. Jonah, Celeste said, the program is still live. He did not stop. On the monitor behind us, the studio hallway camera showed him approaching the control room door. Security blocked him. Jonah shouted that he owned the channel and had the right to terminate the signal. The director said Beacon controlled the transmission under the signed agreement. Jonah pulled out his phone and attempted to access the administrator account remotely. Priya looked at her screen and told the director, he is sending a delete command to the scheduled content archive and storage index. The preservation order prohibited deletion. The 2 investigators outside were called in. The hallway camera remained live because Celeste asked the audience to see what was happening without filming protected documents. The investigators arrived and instructed Jonah to put down the phone. "This is my property," he said. "You are under an order prohibiting deletion or alteration of related data," one investigator replied. Jonah looked directly into the hallway camera. For the first time, the gentle expression was gone. "She is taking everything from me," he said. I heard him from the studio. I did not know whether he was speaking to police, viewers, or himself. An investigator seized the phone and escorted him away from the control room for questioning. They did not handcuff him on camera, but he did not return to his chair. Celeste asked whether I wanted to continue. I looked at my mother, father, and Elodie. They seemed like people who had awakened in a room after the director had left. "Yes," I said, "I want to play the final segment." Response 4 did not show me losing my temper. It showed the editing interface. On the left was original footage. On the right was the published version. The timeline marked the removed sections. Provocations vanished. Silences were lengthened. Tense music appeared beneath my voice. My skin tone was cooled while Elodie's face was brightened. One of my mother's sighs was duplicated. A shot of my father entering before the argument was moved to make it appear he arrived only after my outburst. I narrated live. This does not excuse every sentence I have ever spoken. I became angry. I said things that hurt people. But a genuine reaction does not make an artificial situation genuine. A person may behave badly in a moment and still be the victim of deliberate provocation. I looked into the main camera. Glass houses taught millions of people to hate a woman who did not exist. She had my voice, my home, and my memories. But she was constructed from fragments chosen by other people. Tonight, I am not asking anyone to like me. I am asking them to see the complete sequence before deciding who I am. The audience passed 4.8 million, my mother whispered. "Kaya, I am sorry." I turned toward her. "What are you sorry for?" She looked at the camera, then at me. I could see her searching for a sentence beautiful enough to save herself, for letting everything go too far. "No, you asked about children to hurt me. You faked an illness.